When you think about the leaders, like, let us say, the present set of organisms that launched this dreadful Iraq misadventure, when you're thinking about things like that, how important to you is it their level of self-deception? We know they launched the whole thing in a swarm of lies. The evidence for that's too overwhelming to even need to be referred to now. My view is that the deception entrains self-deception very easily.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure they launched it with lies.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's perfectly possible that they believed it.
Yes.
It's, I mean, in fact, if you look, we don't have a detailed record, but from the record we have, it looks as if they were kind of cherry-picking. They had a goal,
yes,
you know, and then they sort of cherry-picked intelligence and coerced intelligence,
yes,
to yield evidence that would contribute to that goal.
yes.
And anything that conflicted with it just was tossed out, or in fact the people were tossed out, like the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Right, indeed. Indeed.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's self-deception. I mean, it's very easy to, I think we all know it from personal life. You see it with young children. Yeah. You see two kids fighting about a toy, let's say, and the older one takes the toy from the younger one, and his mother comes in and starts berating him. They give you an answer saying, look, it was really mine, and he took it from me, and he didn't want it anyway. And they build up a whole story, which the kid probably believes. They're not, and it's. I suspect it's pretty similar when Cheney and Rumsfeld pick the evidence they want to invade another country.
Yeah.
I suspect it's more or less the same mechanisms. So yeah, sure, it is self-deception, but it just it's so automatic. It takes effort and energy to try to see yourself from a distance.
Yes.
It's hard to do.
No, it is. I think in everyday life we're aware of the fact that when we're watching something on stage, so to speak, we have a better view, overall view, than the actors on the stage have. If you can see events laterally and sideways, you can say, my God, they're doing this and they're doing that. But if you're embedded in that network at the time,
it's very hard.
Much harder.
In fact, you can see it very clearly by just comparing historical events which are similar. They're never identical, but similar. So say take the Russian invasion of Afghanistan, the Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Just take those three. Well, from the point of view of the people who perpetrated it, it was a noble effort and done for the benefit of everyone. No reason to think they were lying. They had arguments. In fact, the self-justifications are kind of similar. Actually, I had an interview with a Polish reporter a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about this, and I asked him whether he'd been reading Pravda during the during the Afghan war. Mm-hmm. We didn't have to go on with the conversation. He just laughed because he saw the point right away. I mean, it was about the same as the U.S. British press in regard to the Iraq war. There was criticism of the war in the Russian Soviet press, same kind that there is here. It's costing too many lives. Poor brave soldiers dying in vain. We can't bring the gifts we want to bring to the Afghan people. We can't bring because of terrorists who are, stop jihadi, Islamic crazed terrorists who are trying to disrupt people's lives. And we're improving things in Kabul. Women can go to the university, but how can we do this with the terrorists around? And on and on. It almost translates, but we can't see it for ourselves. We can see it for them. Like nobody doubts that the Russians committed aggression, that Saddam Hussein committed aggression. We attribute to them rational goals. Maybe they wanted to control the energy of the Middle East or something. With regard to ourselves, it's impossible. Which I've reviewed a lot of the scholarly literature and journalistic literature on this, and it's close to universal. We just cannot adopt towards ourselves the same sane attitudes that we adopt easily, in fact reflexively, when others commit crimes. It's like your terrorism example. Just can't do it. And if anyone says it, educated people, liberal intellectuals are infuriated because it suggests that we could do something that's not noble. We can make mistakes. That's easy. So you can criticize mistakes. You can criticize low-level crimes, like Abu Ghraib. You can criticize that. You can criticize My Lai, but not the educated, civilized people, the kind of people we have dinner with, see at concerts, sitting in air-conditioned offices, planning mass murder. So that's beyond criticism. On the other hand, if it's half-crazed GIs in the field, uneducated, don't know who's going to shoot at them next, you can blame them, and you can say, look how awful they are. And it's the same. Abu Ghraib is the same. You can criticize Lady England, disadvantaged young woman, very different from us. But how about the guys who organized and planned it? You might be interested in a book that's coming out by a very smart guy, James Peck, who's a sinologist, who's got a book coming out called Washington's China, in which he does a very in-depth analysis of the national security culture. He went through the National Security Council literature, the background literature and so on. And he does a kind of both an analysis of the content, but also a psychological analysis. And it was reminding me of it the whole time we were talking. I mean, what he shows are elaborate techniques of self-deception to try to build up a framework in which we can justify things like, say, overthrowing the government of Guatemala on the basis of some noble objective.
Right.
And it's done by making everything, as Dean Acheson once said, you have to make it clearer than truth.
Right.
And as this picture gets internally created and built up on by each group of national security staffers, it becomes like a real fundamentalist religion.
Yes.
Showing extraordinary self-deceit.
Yeah.
And then you end up with the Cheneys and the Rumsfelds.